All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brony Chronicles featuring Saberspark, PaleoSteno, Beavids, and who's the other guy?
That's Omega Ozone.
Omega Ozone. This is the slowest zooming camera I've ever seen. Good one.
Start this up. This is the Brony Chronicles panel, and and just get a little bit of introductions. I'm Saberspark. How's it going, guys?
Boo.
I guess we should say what we did.
All right, well, I guess we give a little bit rundown. The Brony Chronicles is a documentary we've been working on for the last year or so, and it's still in progress. We released part 1 about a month ago. When was it released? Like June
13th.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
June 13th, and we're currently working on part 2. We were going to have part 3 ready by Bronycon, but that didn't happen. Part 2 ready by Bronycon, it didn't happen either because real life popped up and we had a lot of setbacks. So we're still working on part. We're still working on part 2. So sorry guys for not having that ready to show you all, but we're working on it. We'll have it done here soon. But yeah, I'm Saberspark. Like I said, I guess I'm a director for the documentary. I also wrote it. Or is it wrote or written?
You
Writ it?
you wrote it and you narrated it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear my lovely raspy Seth Rogen voice?
And I'm Paleo, and I edited it all together, and
Yeah!
And I also like give critique on his writing and like what
It's proofreading.
Yeah, I'm basically proofreading what he wrote.
Rewriting everything.
Yeah.
He's also my secretary and takes my phone calls and emails. Your dry cleaning's ready.
Yeah. And this is Beavis.
No, I'm Hirosashi. So I did all the I did all the music for Brony Chronicles. I'm kidding. I'm not that. I'm Beavis. I did visuals for them. That's what I did. But I have a musician's thing on my badge, even though I'm not a musician.
Big
fat Brony. Who are you? No one knows who you are. Oh.
TV. And you also helped us with something else.
I helped them render it because without me, you wouldn't be able to watch it on YouTube because this guy doesn't know how to use Vegas. Just kidding, I just have a really nice rig.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I did visuals for it and I did more or less just helping them out and giving them support along the way.
And I'm Omega Ozone, and I help with visuals as well. I did some cool.
The documentary once again it doesn't belong to just one person. It was a group effort. A lot of people who worked on music, art, graphic design.
And a lot of them are here.
Yeah, Fiji, who's the guy who created the intro visual. He was gonna be here for this panel, but he couldn't make it in time. He'll be here later today or tomorrow morning. But say hi to him. If you know the visual at the beginning before the documentary, if you want to say thank you to anybody, go thank him. He'll be around. But yeah, it was a group effort, and we're really lucky because when we first came up with the idea of the Brony Chronicles and doing it, it started off where it was just between Paleo and myself, thinking, okay, we can just kind of pool our resources and make something that's kind of like pretty good.
Yeah.
Just talk about it. And then we had the idea of getting musicians and artists and animators.
And we had the idea for interviews too, and like we can do that at Bronycon and Everfree, and then Canada Gardens, and then Equestria LA, and then we just kept going.
And then Bronycon again. So it kept going and going. So it grew, like it snowballed to where we are today, and still working on it. And a big part of the reason why it's so big is because a lot of people decided to donate to our cause through Kickstarter, and we were able to afford to go out to these conventions and interview people and get the job done. So to those who donated, thank you so much for making this possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without y'all. But for this panel, I mean, what we're going to go over?
First thing we're going to go over is how it came to be. Well, that's pretty much what you
Yeah,
said.
we just did it.
But yeah, But and the process of doing it, because first we went to the conventions, and then after that, after we had like filmed everything, we had to do logging.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Logging footage is like when you take all the footage you filmed, you have to cut it down. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you already know what it means. But how much footage do we have overall?
Overall, I'm not sure. I know we had like around 30 hours of interviews.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So, and we only saw like 20 minutes of the documentary.
Yeah, when it
Like
comes
250 gigs worth of just material to work with.
Yeah.
So if that gives you any indication, 250 gigs worth of material is a lot to work with.
well, Paleo had the idea of like taking the other interviews and put them up on YouTube, right?
Yeah, like at some point, like after we release part 2 and part 3, we're going to put up like some of the other interviews and
got a
some
lot
of
of
the
extra
stuff that we
stuff.
haven't put in the documentary. But what was we gonna do next? Oh yeah.
I'll let you all know, just like we do a show called Brony Breakdown as well, and we're notoriously known for. But we had quite a couple things. First off, I'm sorry if I'm a little bit out of it. We had to pick up Black Griffin from the airport in Dulles, Washington, yesterday night.
You don't even know the definition of tired.
chose to stay up afterwards.
Yeah. No, we drove there. We picked him up at Dulles because he got the wrong airport. And so it's an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
We went there, and then after we picked him up, we were like, let's go to Walmart and pick up a charger for an or like a Mac Pro, like, or one of those laptops.
Probably got yelled at.
And then he rides around in the handicap cart, and this woman goes, "Do you have a disability?" And he goes, "Mentally." She goes, "That's your own problem. Get out."
I was actually really offended.
Well, you should be.
I'm not American for these cards. Where were we going? Okay, but
Anyway.
we were going.
We're tired.
Go ahead.
Anyway, I was gonna say that the reason part 1 took so long.
Why I didn't.
Reason part 1 took so long. Well, first it was just because we were trying to get all of our resources together, because there was a bunch of people working on it. First reason was we were just waiting on like trying to get the script as right as possible.
And when it comes to creating anything, guys, it's never gonna be perfect. There's always room for improvement, but you still want to improve it the best you can. Like, it's funny looking at the first draft of the script and then the last draft and seeing how much you've changed and improved it, because the first draft was really like corny, like spaghetti corny, like Brony is just the flipping best thing ever. I thought that sounds really subjective. I want to make this objective.
And there's a lot of jokes that were taken out.
Yeah, a lot of bad jokes. Like, we had a Transformer joke where there's a commercial on the hub where Megatron says like, "Play my favorite song, Starscream," and they play the My Little Pony song. We were gonna have that in the documentary, we left it out. So we thought, let's go ahead and just stick to what we need to, say it. So I mean, yeah, it took a lot longer than we thought.
Yeah.
Like when we first started, I thought, well, we'll be done with all 3 parts by July 2012. Nope.
But after that, it was narration, which didn't really take long.
That's hard to narrate.
Yeah.
This guy didn't know that you should get close to the microphone when you're recording.
Vivian's here. He's giving me a lot of good advice as far as production stuff goes. Because I got a new microphone. I said, "Beavis, how does it sound?" He's like, "Get closer." How does it sound now? Much better. Brown cow.
Yeah, and then after that, we were waiting for music from General Mumble, which we actually had a lot of placeholder music. But when I was like getting placeholder music to make for the Equestria LA premiere in May, I was like, a lot of this already works for the music that he already had, like for his non-pony stuff. So I was like, let's just use that and make him make some new songs for like certain parts. So that's what we did with that. And then after that, I guess we were waiting on Fidji's intro because
visuals.
Yeah. And then after that, it was the rendering, because we were going to like premiere it on a certain on a Thursday in place of Brony Breakdown. But what happened is that I tried rendering it, his error occurred. It was like, oh.
And it was like a complete tease too. It was like 99% error. And it takes about like a day to upload it, so that.
Yeah, and then we had it rendered out.
Yeah.
then we had it rendered out over the weekend, and then I was like, wait, it's uploaded, rendered, but it doesn't look right.
There are visual errors where it
And
was messed up.
what was happening is that it was like adjusting the frame rate. So it was like only 13 frames per second. And I was like, no, we can't have it like that because it was like already uploaded and like ready to go. But I was like, no, this can't happen because Beezy's.
That's getting kind of hard.
No!
Oh!
Is it all right? I'm sorry.
You owe him an
DB Brony can't play at Bronypalooza now because of my water bottle.
I thought you loved me.
Saberspark ruined everything.
You can edit that
All right,
out,
delay part 2 of the documentary.
You can edit that out, right?
In case anyone's wondering, I'm sorry, I was charging my camera.
Yeah. Anyway, it was only like 13 frames per second, so it was like I was looking at Beezy's intro and I was like, I don't remember it being like this because it was kind of jumpy, and I was like, no, we have to do that justice.
Angry.
You guys are terrible people.
Aren't you all glad you donated to us?
Not that
So we bought like 20 Xboxes and played lots of Halo. No, but go ahead. All in all, the render process was really annoying, but we finally fixed it. So when we did, we felt like we were going to cry with tears of joy.
Yeah.
But okay, I wanted to ask, well, not to ask, but say, part 2, still in production. And a big reason why it isn't finished yet is we had to go back and really gut the script. Because what we had in mind, it's fine because you'll start with something, you think, okay, this will work. And then you start sharing with other people and getting their feedback, and you realize, okay, this is actually a really dumb idea, this isn't going to work. Like, we were part 2, okay, part 1 was the origins of the fandom and the MLP franchise. Part 2 is about the community, talking about PMVs, animation, different, like the creative content the fandom engages in. And the way we had to set it up, or I had in mind, was we'll do a 10-minute segment for each part of the fandom. But that's extremely repetitive, and that format will get boring after a long time, not to mention take a long time to cover. So we decided we're going to try to hit it all at once. And I'm still trying to work the script out for that, so, hence why it's not, on the screen right now. But I wanted to see what you all want, like, what did you like in part 1 of the documentary? What do you want to see? What? Shut up! Get out! What did you like? What can be improved? There's the other documentary by John Delancey. What was something that you all didn't get from that maybe we can do for you all later on? We want to hear what you all think, so can we go and start asking questions?
Yeah, just do Q&A.
Guys, Q&A it up, all right? So if you got a question, throw your hands up. Throw your hands up.
No.
All right. Yep.
So yeah, I was at the EQLA premiere, and and you said something about going over the dark side of the fandom, right?
So the fandom, yeah.
So can you elaborate that a little bit more?
Well, since we're going from an objective point of view, we want to be able to talk about the good and the bad. So that, in some people's eyes, they look at things like Rule 34 as bad, which that's eye of the beholder stuff. Because what is chaos to the fly is I'm sorry. What is there's a saying I heard where it says, you know what? Never mind. It's bad. But we don't want to like, I guess, glaze it over and be like, okay, Bronies are perfect because they're humans. No human's perfect. So we'd be doing you all a disservice by not covering every single facet of the fandom. So yeah, we're covering it.
Say it's going to be at least safe for work.
It's going to be safe for work. It's not going to be like,
We'll be talking about things. And I actually had a good suggestion from the LP board.
What's really?
Yeah.
What did Fortune say?
I forgot what it was, but I'll have to go over with you. I think you were on vacation when it was happening. But,
Vacation. No wonder why part 2's not done.
yeah, but
Actually, that was me on vacation. So
yeah. But yeah,
it's not going to be like 30 minutes of us just scrolling through pictures and slideshows of Rule 34 stuff. But we'll discuss it. Does that answer your question? All right.
Actually, if I could ask you guys,
when you were going through the documentary and like gathering everything together, what's the number one thing you learned personally? Like something that you gleaned out of it that's stuck with you?
Like, I guess so what stuck out to us, there were something that we learned from it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you all can jump in on it too.
I guess working on a tight deadline.
Tight deadline. We got our
Well, that tunnel scene we did.
The tunnel scene?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was like really tight. So.
That was,
Yeah.
you did a good job with that.
I'll say that when working on a large project, when problems arise, always have a backup plan.
Yes.
That's some word of advice. I was actually going to ask you guys one question, which is what is the sage advice from going through like one whole part now? The advice you would give to someone trying to tackle a project like this? You had one thing you could say.
Take it slow. I mean, it's better to deliver something that's completely done late than turning in crap early. Like always quality is so much better. Like if you unless it's like school, we have an exam or a project is due, finish it. But trust me on that one, I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, I turned in a paper in my college that I did in high school, and I got like a C in high school. I made an A in college.
Actually, I used to be really bad about I could win an Oscar for the acting I did back in college. Like one time there was this paper that was late to a history class, and I realized that my teacher had a passion for beagles, so I decided to lie. The paper was late. I went to her office and I said, my beagle got ran over this morning. It's dead. And I get my papers late, and she said you can turn it in late. It's fine. So yeah, lie to your teachers. That's what I said.
You are seeing the dark side of this paper.
True
My
role model.
imaginary dog that I'm playing off her emotions.
I think the main thing I've learned is don't really get discouraged, because there's a lot of times where I was like, we're not gonna do this.
Yeah, at the time, I'm in a Skype call with Paleo, and it's like I'm comforting him, like, we can do it, Paleo. We'll finish this. But no, take it slow. Yep.
I can just ask one and raise my hand again later. Do you guys think that two of the biggest things that come up against bronies, I think, is Rule 34 basic, but also the fact that bronies get in your face with their broniness. Do you think that we are getting in their face with our broniness, or is it just our existence that's?
By the way,
Is there anything special about our Rule 34 that's different from any other fandom's Rule 34?
It's so easy
by
to.
the way,
Yes, Paleo?
she's the one who made that bronies are awful video.
You made that video?
Yeah.
I love that video.
Oh, I love that video.
I'm so glad you guys like that.
I love that video. It's so easy to take a group of people and kind of just assume they all act the same. Like all Christians protest abortion clinics, or all Muslims are terrorists. That's assuming a lot. And to say all bronies act this way is stupid, because it's a lot of varieties, a lot of kinds of people. We're different races, different nationalities, different sexual orientations, genders. We're a very diverse group of people. So to say that we all act this one way, to label the entire group saying we all are in your face, that's not true, because I'm not in the face of a lot of people. Paleo and David and Ozone, they don't act that way. It's like one of those things where the minority kind of ruin it for the rest of us, because since they're the loudest, they label like Howard Stern at the last Bronycon, he had a correspondent interviewing people out near the steps, asking them about cloth stuff, and then Howard Stern and his team were like, wow, they all act like a bunch of weirdos, they're all freaks.
Which, in those kind of media situations, you could have 100 interviews, and out of that 100, have 5 people say something, negative or like that, like agreeing with what they want, and then they just cut out the 100. So you'd only assume, out of the 5 that they got, that's everybody.
Well, it's like, because that stuff sells, it's really juicy, and they're like, it's really deviant, so it's like, yeah, they're going to try to promote that. But, back to your question, you said, do I feel like a lot of bronies act that way, like in your face kind of thing?
Do you think that the brony community as a whole is pushing our broniness in other people's faces,
No.
or is it just that we're existing?
I do think, I've bumped into a lot of bronies who are like, love and tolerate, man, it's the brony way, or they'll march around a mall singing when a rap up. there's a certain level of being polite and respecting a public environment. Like, if I want to wear a derpy shirt and walk around and bump into another brony at the mall and say, "What's up?" That's fine. But to like parade around with a boombox, winter wrap up, that's pretty obnoxious. But no, I think as a whole, the fan's pretty well behaved.
I think I know what she's talking about though, because I see it like on YouTube all the time. It's
My little spaghetti.
No, I mean like in YouTube comments, because like somebody will make a comment, it will just be like a regular comment, but they'll have a pony avatar, and then everybody jumps on it. It's like, oh, you bronies are everywhere.
That still goes on today.
That was a suspicion with a lot of comments that were basically a lot of people who said that they didn't like bronies, and it's like, what exactly did we just say that was brony-like? Aside from having a brony pic.
What happens is you have the one guy who has like a Final Scratch like avatar, comment on a video and get top comments, and then somebody who hates bronies will reply back to them, and then someone who's like a really like zealous brony will reply back to them, and then it's like comments. Like I made a video called "How to Brony," dealing with haters and trolls or whatever, which is like I won't lie, I feel like I was a little bit too harsh in that video. I mean, if you want my real advice when it comes to people like that, just ignore them and move on. But that video has over 20,000 comments alone. It's a battlefield. It is a nightmare. I went in there one time to check it out, and it was like, show more.
I'll say one thing in regards to your question, which is there's two different worlds I believe within the brony culture, and that's the internet fandom that you see, and then the ones that you see in public, like when you go to a convention. Because obviously the people you see online are going to be much more willing to be vocal and say whatever they want because they have that anonymity behind them. They have their handle that they can use. And and they can be the internet tough guy. But then when they're in public, they may act a different way. The other thing that I've seen is, since I've made videos online before, you add a song. It's like, just some rock song or it's some electronic song, and you throw that into a PMV and you make it with ponies, and then it gets really popular. People will then go onto that song and say, "Ponies brought me here," and then they'll flood the comments with a million comments of "Yeah, Rarity's my favorite," and I'm like, I get that you like the song and I get that you like the video, but the fact that you're then on someone else's thing and you're diverting the comments almost makes me go is it about the music or is it about the fact that the music was used with the video? And it's you're not even talking about the song anymore. Now you're talking about why Rarity's best pony, and it's and that's totally wrong.
And then the role players show up and you're like, no!
And I kind of go, I think that wouldn't happen so much in a real life scenario, but online it's just so much easier to say I like this and this is synonymous with what I like, so why don't I talk about it here? And other people who are not part of the fandom come in and they go, man, they're just flooding the comments with all these things I don't care about or I don't know about, so it becomes almost like a nuisance. And the bronies aren't trying to intentionally annoy people, but it just comes off that way in the end if it happens too much, you know what I'm saying?
That and it's, I don't know, maybe just me, but I feel like the brony hype is starting to kind of slow down a bit, so I think people are starting to get used to it. A lot of the people who were diehard haters and trolls who used to follow me are starting.
Remember Caused Fire?
Yeah, or Banshee Bomb.
Yeah.
They're great. They don't really talk to me anymore. I don't know why. I hope that answered your question. What's up?
You said in the documentary there are two timelines for My Little Pony, the toys and the cartoons. Are you ever going to cover the toys?
There are some other people in the fandom who are just experts at the toys, especially the old school fans who've been there since 1980s.
Yeah.
Casey, she used to be with the Brony Clubhouse. She has a small fortune of pony toys in her house. I don't think we're not going to.
Yeah, we're not going to cover the toys. The toys are more for the collectors, because I know that a lot of the collectors they don't like bronies. The hardcore collectors, they've been doing it for a long time. But yeah, that's more of a collector type thing. It's not so much about why people came into the fandom, because the majority of people who came to the fandom came in because they saw the show. So
and internet mixed in with that.
Yeah, all that.
Those old school fans, they have tons of figures.
Yeah, we've been into a room of a huge collection.
Yeah, ranging from Generation 1 all the way to now, so it's ridiculous. But no, we won't be covering that. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first let me say I'm a big fan of your work. I watched the first Chronicles of Brony probably just a couple months ago. And before that I was really sort of on the superficial level of the fandom. I was one of those people who started off really resistant to even trying it. And then, you know, a friend got me to sit down and watch it one day and I was like, I absolutely love everything about this. Let me learn more, and that's what brought me to the documentary. And especially to Saberspark's channel where I watched a whole slew of videos and, you know, it was probably a 3-hour sitting.
I'm sorry.
But the thing is the Brony fandom kind of exploded more rapidly than most fandoms I pay attention to. And the first film was really comprehensive in its work. It covered a lot of the history of the show and then the nuances of the new show. I'm wondering where you plan to take it from there. What else is there left to cover that we could expect to see in the future?
For the other parts of the documentary?
Yes.
Well, part 2 is going to be about the community, and part 3 is going to be the most academic of them all, which is sociology and the science of bronies. Because I got into this stuff back when I was in college in my sociology class, studying it's called the study of deviance, and I picked bronies as my topic, and that's, you know, where this crazy adventure began. So there's some actual science you can back up, like why men act this way and women, and why society judges people who act feminine, who should be masculine, and things like that. So we want to cover the science of it in part 3, and part 2 is just, I guess, more of an in-depth look at like the creative side of the fandom. Because I mean, not only is this fandom like it's so dynamic with what it does and how it, like, along with the rise of new media with the internet and YouTube and DeviantArt, and this, without the internet, this bronies wouldn't be nearly as big as they are today. Its lifeline is the web, and wouldn't you all agree?
Yeah.
But you have anything to add to that? Like, what do you all?
Like you said, I think in your documentary too, was that if it had started, it was the time frame. If it had started back in like the days of dial-up and the days even before then, where people were just, you know, they'd form maybe a club or something like that, and they'd go out and they'd meet each other, and, you know, they'd have a common interest. This whole fandom in the spread of it would not even be close to what it is today if it weren't for, you know, everyone having a high-speed internet connection and being able to communicate with each other daily about their fascination with the show.
World, too.
I think YouTube has a big part of it too, because people started uploading stuff to YouTube for the episodes.
Yeah,
What's that? Hasbro never took them down.
That was a big.
Yeah. Hasbro, no, those episodes are still on YouTube. Also, the fact that the generation who's mostly the main age group that makes up the Brony fandom, most of them grew up in the 90s, and they were children of television. The millennials, they grew up with, you know, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and Disney Channel. I mean, and there were like things like Transformers and G.I. Joe before, but the generation that came after that, they were like indoctrinated with TV. We grew up with it, and around 2004 or 3, and for about 5 or 6 years, television kind of died off, where the shows that we grew up with went away. And to see My Little Pony come back really just kind of hit us with that nostalgia. And then with the internet at our side, talk to other bronies and start creating. Because the creative movement kind of was a grassroots thing, and it kind of built on itself. And nowadays it's more like, who can outdo who and who can be the most impressive with their work. But it started off with people, just fans wanting to create and draw and write and show off their love for the show. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Anything else? I mean, if we can do anything, yes.
Do you mind if I say something, my opinion about your documentary?
Yes, love to.
Okay, well, in terms of how it relates to John Delancey's, I remember seeing John Delancey's, and of course and personally what I thought it did was that it suffered from a condition called modern documentary syndrome, which is where a lot of documentaries, I put this actually really close to the recent Bully documentary that came out, which was way more focused on trying to wrench emotion out of you than providing in-depth information. And I think that's really where a lot of bronies were kind of meh about it, because that was really an introduction to other people who were not bronies, to introducing, hey, this is what a brony is. But then bronies were like, we know this. Let's talk about the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where it felt like you guys came in. And we want to talk about the good stuff and the details of how it comes in, and the analysis, and the in-depth analysis.
And on that level, because I love analysis videos better, I thought that was great. I think Saber narrates a little bit too much. In terms of there's not, I think there needs to be more interviews. There's a lot of long stretches of just explanations of long.
I think in part 2 and part 3, there's gonna be a lot more interviews that we can integrate with it.
It's so hard writing for interviews. That was a challenge. I'm like, this is new. Because at first we were going to do like Brony's React format, where it's like, hey, what did you like about the show? Yeah.
Couldn't handle it.
Brony's React is a horrible series to go off of. It sucks. No, but
You better keep the lights on.
funny enough, like, you ever heard of a show called True Life on MTV?
Yeah.
Like a lot of those shows, like you said, the syndrome they fall into, where like they have to be able to sell. And I know that, but in the process of doing that, you kind of sacrifice the truth and what it's really about. So, yeah, I mean, it's the Hollywood behind it. That's why we're happy that we had Kickstarter and we didn't have those kind of strings attached where we can be more honest and cover it.
I mean, they had Kickstarter too, but they're also in Hollywood.
Money. No,
but yeah, like you were saying, they're also in Hollywood. So.
Funny enough, it was nature documentaries that gave me the big inspiration.
Yeah, like I was gonna say to her that I kind of.
It's funky, it's crying.
I was gonna say to her that actually before it wasn't in parts. It was going to be just a
3-hour-long documentary.
Yeah, it was just going to be a 3 hour. And I was thinking, no one's going to sit down and watch that.
I would. Endurance.
Besides Brony.
Get a job.
Like, I was like, no one besides Bronies are going to watch that. And because I was thinking, like, why don't we do it like Walking with Dinosaurs?
Or Planet Earth.
Yeah.
Like Planet
because that's
Get a helicopter with a little gyro camera.
Because that's kind of how I was structuring the parts, and I had already like written out like how we would sort of do it, because before I had actually wanted to do a documentary before based on cetaceans with whales and dolphins.
Which cetaceans are not? They're dolphins, yeah.
Yeah, they're whales and dolphins.
People don't know what cetaceans mean. Mom had to explain that.
Yeah.
They're whales and dolphins.
I was going to say that.
Whales and dolphins.
But anyway, because like I had always wanted to do a documentary on my own, so like with cetaceans and whatnot. So
whales
I was
and
like,
dolphins.
But I've already explained it, so now they know.
All right, crustaceans.
Under the sea.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. But yeah, I was just gonna say that like I've always kind of wanted to structure a documentary sort of like those mini-series. So that's why I call the Brony Chronicles a mini-series, because like each part is about an hour long.
That and like I took a lot of inspiration from David Attenborough and BBC and how they do their stuff, because there's a lot to cover. And for us to do it all in one take, it's like no one's got that time. Very few people do.
Ain't nobody got no time for that.
We got time for that for Bronies. But we wanted to be able to break it. Even then, even the hour-long blocks are still long. But like you said, as far as like the integrity goes, we wanted to make sure that we were reporting the entire truth, good and bad. And I know it sounds silly, but the BBC nature documentaries is like, since they're reporting. They're reporting, rock formations, oceans, trees. And I know it sounds weird because one's nature and one's human, about human interaction. But we wanted to cover the entire story, so that's what we're going for.
I think one suggestion I'd have, that if going along with what you said, which is less narration in the idea of it, sometimes images or like the visuals can give more words than the actual words themselves. Like it gives more meaning, and you can create your own kind of like idea of what's going on here. So maybe like a B-roll section, like having B-roll overlapping certain sections and having like those visuals more or less describe what you were going to say.
Yeah. Pictures worth 1,000 words kind of thing.
Right, like being able to show rather than have to say it.
Yeah.
You can actually just show like a sequence of this thing happening, introduce it.
Like when the Planet Earth documentary started, is David Attenborough like narrating a paragraph about Earth, just the planet, and he's like, so. It is what it is. All right. Any more questions? Yes.
Okay. So I'm really interested in like feminism and like gender equality, things like that. I know that Brony stuff like is definitely interesting for people like that because, you know, it's males enjoying something that's intended for females. But I was also wondering if you like delved into like the equality or how female bronies and male bronies interact with each other and what's the difference between a female brony or a male brony. Like I've had boys tell me before, oh, you can't be a brony because you're a girl, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm a girl. You know?
We've had many long Skype calls just talking about this. Personally, I think the term Pegasister is like, you know, it's cute, whatever, but it started, I guess what made Brony so unusual to begin with is there are older male fans of the show My Little Pony, which for the longest time was like thought to be a girls' show for little girls. Now we've gotten to the point where I feel like it's just for older fans. You know, it's not even just for older fans. Look at the convention. There's moms and their kids walking around. There's girls. There's guys. You know, it's just fans of the show My Little Pony. You know, G4. That's what I see. Bro. If you and also you pick the label. You know, if you dress up in cosplay as Shining Armor, then you're most likely a brony. I mean, would you add to that or no?
Oh. Well, I'd say I feel like anyone who's a fan of the show is a brony. That's the definition it's always held, and I think that's the only definition it needs, is a fan of the show who wants to enjoy what it has to offer. I don't think it has to do with you're a male, so that means brony applies to just you. I think it applies to a fan of the show that's come out, and that we're all in that mentality. That's
Have you guys seen the newspaper? That has
Brownies Unite. What?
Yeah, it says adult male fans. The funny thing is that they have a bad definition of cosplay. They say that cosplay is that you create a character and that is your cosplay.
Oh, give them a break. It's Baltimore.
But they have the whole friggin' article thing on this cover story.
It's Baltimore Press.
Oh, Baltimore Press.
Our press here has gone downhill.
I'm from Atlanta. I know the feel. I'm from Atlanta. But as far as like I guess gender equality goes, like it's kind of funny how bronies are like, we're fighting we're fighting for gender equality, but you girls can't be bronies. No girls allowed.
I draw mine somewhere.
Oh, that's actually something that I was going to say, though, how the media spins it, is it's much more easy for them to spin it as it's only a male-inclusive fandom because it's more shock value for them to sell. If they said, oh, girls enjoy it too, then it would come off as, well, isn't that somewhat what it's intended for?
Yeah.
And then they would go, but it's older female fans. And they're like, I guess. I mean, that's what's going on? But like, it's much more marketable for them and much more shock-worthy for them to be like, these adult male fans like it. Like, that's the only reason they even talk about it is because they go, it's adult male fans. But I'd say in the idea of like bronies like talking with each other, I'd say that anyone who's a fan of the show is totally inclusive to the brony name or anything of that nature.
I mean, I know a lot of people who like they're afraid of the label and they run away from it. Like my friend Dylan, he walked one day. He's like, "Hey, Saber, I'm not a brony anymore." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, "Well, can I just be a fan? That's it." I'm like, "That's fine, I guess." And it kind of hit me because you can be a fan and I guess brony is all about how involved you are with the fandom. You know, that's my interpretation of it. Is that?
I said you're an uber brony. Like,
okay, brony.
Super uber.
You have the word brony in your name. You can't say.
Hey man,
Jack.
I did it back in November 2010.
I almost said the F word. Keep it G-rated. I hope that answers your question.
And the thing is that like bronies, there's not a term for every cartoon.
Homestucks.
Homestucks. That's not a cartoon. That's a webcomic.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, there's not a term for a fan of Attack on Titan. There is like otaku for like the Japanese stuff, but.
Well, MLP is so like niche with its audience. It's so because people are like, why do bronies get their own conventions and anime has to share all one convention to themselves?
Because we're not allowed in the other ones.
We're not allowed. And that day we
have the deepest pockets.
All right.
Bags.
All right. Yeah, just a quick question. Do you have any, and it sounds a little silly, but do you have any funny behind-the-scenes stories you'd like to share?
I take that as a yes.
We have some stories that we can't share.
Oh.
Jeez, you know we do.
Yeah, we got a couple of stories. Some of them we want to keep kind of under wraps because, like, after we're done with part 3 during the credits, we have this thing set up where we ask every interviewee their favorite pony, and we're gonna have that going during the credits. We had some bloopers as well, like Hugh and Shira Point and Jay Holler.
That was great.
All I can say is they almost destroyed our lapel mics in the process. But yeah, there are some funny moments. I can't really share them because it's going to be a little bit of a surprise for part 2 and 3. But there are some funny things that happened. I mean, are there any we could share off the top of our head? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, the dog, it went pretty smooth for the most part.
We got Tombstone really drunk one time. Just filmed the whole thing.
That's all part 2 is.
It's an hour long of it.
All right. All right, any more questions? Pardon me?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I've tried to do a little bit of analysis. In fact, what ultimately became the video I made originally started out as a 5-page, really in-depth analysis of the fandom, but I wanted to get something out before Bronycon, so I went, I can break something out into like 2 pages, and I can put it on, and I pulled it on. But I had this theory that, how much do you think the rise of anime fandom has affected the fandom of My Little Pony? Because when you think about anime became a really big thing, like 95, like all the big stuff came out in anime, conventions became a thing. It's to the point where it sort of reinvigorated both the Western animation market and older people being fans of animation in general as an art form. So do you think that had any kind of impact on why MLP sort of took off?
Well, I know a lot of people who are MLP fans who are also anime fans. I mean, I love anime.
I did notice that too. Like,
Attack on Titan.
Almost all the bronies that I follow on YouTube have at some point admitted to also being anime fans.
I mean, besides Dragon Ball Z, anime. Sorry, I had my friend Jack's way back there. He's a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, and then the show's pretty bad.
Stop making enemies, Saber. It's not gonna get you anywhere.
It's gonna crush you. Like a grape.
I know.
I will break you.
Yeah. But I don't know how to really comment on that one. What do you all think?
I mean, I guess it goes the same when Saber was talking about the cartoons of the 90s, because it was around the same time, and like everything seemed like really great. Everybody was
Golden Age.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Disney.
They were the 90s.
We had Pokemon,
Internet Explorer.
Nostalgia.
Remember when Brony said Alex S? Those were good days.
Achilles.
Kyrospawn.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
What do Bronies have today? They have nothing. They're dead. You gotta make that video.
I do.
I really don't know how to comment on that. I feel like. What's that?
What didn't you? I thought you were continuing.
Oh no, I was just saying that like I guess it goes into what Western cartoons that were going around at the same time as the rise of the anime stuff in here. But are you talking about like as conventions or like?
I'm talking about as in, do you think that when anime started becoming popular, that had any influence on whether or not maybe like I found it like the whole like before I even got into it, I knew about it because all of my anime friends were talking about it, but I still didn't take it seriously because these were the guys who liked shows like Lucky Star and Azumaki Daioh, which has the same kind of ultra cutesy girls with character, mostly female cast show. And I thought that's interesting. The guys that are really into this really kind of goofy girly show. Also became also the people who got me into LP. Yeah. And I was wondering if there was a relationship between that.
Because the ponies
I
have
have-
big anime eyes.
Actually, I have one thing to say, which is that I think it has a lot to do with the people who pour their heart and soul into creating the show. If Lauren Faust and the people who were involved were not part of it, it probably would not have taken off, because they could have just pushed out another 3.5, Generation 3.5 baby show that's like lacks all, story and everything. It's just these babies going on little adventures and things like that. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she wanted to create something that was outside of what was traditionally being done with that show and what was being done, and push it for a new generation sort of thing. I mean, you're seeing shows nowadays that are becoming more like, you have your Adventure Times and your regular shows, and it's dwindling though down on Cartoon Network and on Nickelodeon for what variety you have. It's like a couple more.
Dwindling?
I'd say dwindling.
I feel like it's starting to come back.
No, they're finding that animation is more expensive to do, so they're going with live action shows. You can
No.
see this with shows like Destroy, Build, Destroy,
That
and
happened
things like
years
that.
ago.
Yes, but Cartoon Network is showing a dramatic shift from saying we're going to be a complete cartoon identity to being we have cartoons and then we also have live action shows that we show.
See, I disagree. I do agree that back in the day, like around 2003, they started making that shift.
Nickelodeon though has
Nickelodeon is definitely
Drake and Josh, iCarly, Sam and Cat, and all these live action shows.
Sweet Life of Drake and Cody.
I'm saying
Isn't the same thing with Disney Channel?
yeah, and I'm saying I hope shows like MLP and Adventure Time and regular shows that
Gravity Falls.
Yeah, and Gravity Falls. that
Wonder
have
Over
created-
Yonder is coming up here.
Yeah.
Well, that have created this great mentality that cartoons aren't dead. They're still great, and a lot of people can still be fans of them. Reinvigorates, like you said, the whole anime thing that came in, and it totally reinvigorated people to be more interested in animation and, Western animation too. I hope shows like that reinvigorate the idea that cartoons aren't dead. You can make a great show, you can still produce a great product, and it doesn't have to be, toned down for, a dumber audience. It can be smart, it can be funny, and you can have a good show.
That and a lot of anime people are online and keep their ears open for other animations. And I'm sure when MLP started picking up momentum, from after.
Korra, for instance, is a Western animation that blows out of the water some, animations.
Once it's a generation who grew up with television, so we're keen on TV and cartoons and things like that. I know I am. Yes.
Yeah. I often find myself challenging the accusation that I watch a show for little girls. Of course that's the intended market audience. Hasbro has pretty much made that clear. We're targeting this group of people. We're targeting this demographic. But the fact that it appeals to so many people, I've managed to draw a comparison between other shows that I used to watch in the past. For example, sometimes I bring up Powerpuff Girls with my friends because everyone I know watched Powerpuff Girls when it came on Cartoon Network, and they say, well, at least Powerpuff Girls had violence or X, Y, Z, and then I go, well, My Little Pony has violence, and they go, well, Powerpuff Girls had social commentary. Well, My Little Pony has social commentary. Powerpuff Girls had X, Y, Z. My Little Pony has X, Y, Z. I'm wondering if there were any plans to sort of challenge that idea in any of your upcoming films.
I think the reason why people are so thrown off between the two is one's called Powerpuff Girls and one's called My Little Pony. And My Little Pony has carried
Pony
that.
has
history.
It has a history. So that's why people automatically assume.
I mean, if the show had no connection with My Little Pony whatsoever, and it was called something like Pony Power Time or something like that, or even the word pony has that connotation where it's girly. But if it had nothing to do with My Little Pony at all, then people wouldn't be as judgmental on it. Because Powerpuff Girls they're almost the exact same in a lot of ways. What else?
Pretty much every description I've ever heard of someone describing what the fandom is says, oh, it's not like the previous generations. They always clarify. They're like, oh, it's not like that. I get that maybe, some of the previous generations are not everybody's cup of tea, but I mean, they're there for a reason, and without them you wouldn't have your current generation.
They're not that bad.
No, they're not all that bad. I mean, the first generation of the movies that came out actually had decent villains and decent stories. I mean, it wasn't the best fantastic, but it was good. Yeah, it was good enough.
Demons.
Generation 3.5.
Demons.
The thing is history plays a huge role into why this show has got this stigma to it, is that people look at it as there's all these years that I've known it as, Princess Baby show, or
It's the Happy
meant
Meal
for
thing
girls.
too.
Yes. The
Oh,
Happy
boys
Meal.
buy Transformer toys, girls get the My Little Pony toys. And the look on these McDonald's employees' faces, but nowadays it's like, no, I want the girls' meal, please. And all 20 of the figures. They're not used to it. The society is still going by the pink-blue syndrome, where blue for boys, pink for girls. And we're so used to that. It's been like imprinted into our society. I mean, when a lot of babies are born into this world, immediately, little blue cat for boys, little pink cat for girls. Like, right out of the womb, they're on their way to being a guy or a girl. So, I think we're starting to go through a transition. I think people are starting to realize that you can have masculine men who are in touch with their feminine side and vice versa for girls. Yes.
Speaking about the pink-blue syndrome, I guess you could say. Do you think also in the past it was more lenient for girls to play with Transformers than do backwards, or because if I remember right, a few years ago when Transformers came on the movies, right, you see like guys and girls both quit the movie and nobody will say a word. But now when you see like a few weeks ago when EQ came out of the theaters there for a bit, EQ, people like turning heads around like, what, guys watch this show, watch this movie too? What do you spend on that? What do you think about that?
It's much more accepted for a girl to play softball than a guy to do ballet. Because masculinity it's strong, it's tough, it's,
Granted, guys can still make careers out of doing ballet. Girls cannot really have careers.
It's
They don't really
backwards.
have a big
Yeah.
career doing a lot of
Because
sports.
you'll have like a ballet guy who goes to like the Olympics or something like that, and it's like, yeah. But yeah, it's unfair to both sides. There is no true winner. The equality has not been met yet. But I mean, I personally think it's like in society, if some father and son were doing something girly, other dads and their moms and kids would be like, "What's wrong with them? Why are they letting their little boy wear a tutu or something?" It's like that's wrong. But it's a bit more accepted for a little girl to play softball until they get older, and then it's like, no, she should be in the kitchen. It's like that's backwards.
There's a reason you only hear the word tomboy and you don't hear tom girl, or
You hear sissy girl. You hear
sissy. Yeah, it's associated
It's
as.
kind of the opposite, but then tomboy is not really considered. It's not
completely
really considered
negative. Right.
But then a lot of girls still take it badly because they don't think of themselves as. I don't think of myself as boyish. I think of myself as being me. Just because I'm not stereotypically girly doesn't necessarily mean that you have to call me boyish.
I just wanted to add a comment to that. I feel that our society has kind of revolutionized for women to be more equal. Like, if you see a woman that decides to take on a masculine role, like she decides to be a construction worker, or she decides to be a soldier in the military, yes, it's still not uncommon, but we have grown to respect that, and we, look the other way from our societal norms because we're like, okay, well, no, they deserve equal rights. But we haven't had that revolution yet in our society for men. Like, if you know a man who's a nurse or works at a daycare center or, like you said, dancing or anything that would be stereotypically feminine, a lot of people go down that. And a lot of men, are very self-conscious because they don't want, even though they have their own feminine side, everyone is both feminine and masculine in their own way. There's just such a stigma for men to be feminine.
I understand. I completely agree. Because masculinity is being strong, and to be feminine, which is weak, it's frowned upon for men. That's why I like, a lot of older guys who fought in Vietnam would look at this stuff being like, what's wrong with this generation? It's messed up. What's up? Got a question?
First of all, thank you, Paleo. I probably wouldn't be in all this nonsense if it wasn't for that one video with the obscenely long title. Yes, thank you, Saberspark. With a big project like this, I know you guys have mentioned it before on Brony Breakdown sponsor before, but can you guys, is this kind of like your big project to kind of give back to the community and stuff like that, like kind of the big push? Because I mean, this project is not going to be obviously.
The question, to give back, what do you?
I mean, just to kind of, yeah, I mean, like, this project is obviously really super ambitious.
Yeah.
Like, beyond the scope of anything you guys have ever done before. Is that kind of what you were going for?
This is kind of our, I wouldn't say grand finale, but
Yeah. I guess like it's probably going to be the biggest thing we've done. So
I don't think we're gonna do this unless unless you don't want to donate more money. But no, but this because the fandom's starting to kind of I guess I wouldn't say die, but it's starting to slow down a bit. So I mean, it's starting to settle down and be comfortable within its own skin. So we're. I don't know, and also you kind of want to move on to other things after a while. I love this pony stuff; it's a lot of fun. But I'm sure this isn't you're forever after. There's careers and other things to achieve out there. So, I mean, for me personally, I want to finish this project, and who knows what's next. I didn't expect this pony stuff to ever happen to me. I don't think a lot of you all probably are in the same boats. It happened out of nowhere. You're like, "It's ponies. Look at pony convention." Oh God, what happened? But I mean, but how do y'all feel? Because I mean, you all are very involved with the fandom.
I just would say don't go to extremes like making it a lifestyle. Outside of if you go to a gathering with friends or if you go out with your family, the only thing you can talk about, the only thing you direct the conversation towards is this show, then you probably have a problem. And I would say
yeah,
you do. Yeah. That's he knows he's my brother. But no, I mean if there's situations where you can't not talk about the show, you probably are getting too far deep into it. And you need to realize that it's I mean, if you like Samurai Jack, or if you like another show that's it should have had a following, or you really like it, Firefly and all these things, is that the only thing you talk about? No, but you still have a really deep love and interest for this show, and you love following it. But if that's become your whole what you're doing with your life right now, maybe you should take a step back and just realize that there are other things out there, and that
school, job, working out, right? Jack's wife, is he still there?
You need to focus.
Working out, yeah.
Too busy on
No, I was trying to make a point.
He was sleeping.
So yeah, the whole. I don't think it's dying or anything. I just think people should realize that it's a show and we can all love it, but don't become crazy about it. Or
it's just settling down. People just, I think people just don't want to show it off as much. They're growing this. It used to be big. Everyone wanted to show off all the cosplay and everything. Now it's kind of more subdued. Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, for us though, this project, it's. I think the one thing that's cool about the Brony fandom is it's a good training ground for moving on to bigger things. I mean, working with a team like you all, visual artists and writing and directing and narrating, give me a lot of experience, and I would never have had it if it wasn't for this pony stuff. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
That whole thing kind of reminded me. About the whole thing about the fandom settling down. Do you think it'll? I don't want to use the words "go crazy," but do you think it'll get a little bit more relevant when season 4 premieres?
Yeah, definitely. Every time a season is going on, there's so much more going on with the fandom. So
gives you more material to work with.
Yeah.
Your lifeblood's back.
People get stir crazy in between because they're the only thing I have is fan animations and my fanfics and my artwork and stuff like that. They have no show to direct their attention to. They only have who they follow.
And right now is the longest hiatus we've been on because season 3 ended in February.
Has it been that long?
Yes, season 4 doesn't start until November. So this is the longest hiatus we've been on. It's almost a year.
5 months. Okay.
Is it really 5 more months until
God damn.
All right.
Rewatching questions over and over again.
I have nothing to do in this hiatus except the previous episodes and all this abundance of animation.
All right, guys, we'll do a few more questions and we're gonna wrap this up. And by the way, thank you all for sticking around and for your questions and your support and everything. We really appreciate it. And if you have anything on your mind, even if it's not even related to the documentary, fire away. Any questions? What's up?
This has nothing to do with the documentary, but I was wanting to ask you guys. Where did you come up with the shenanigan you did of doing the cease and desist shenanigan?
Just throw it off.
So, first off, that was initially kind of coming out of this head right here. Like, we were walking around, B-Vids, Jay Holler and I were around Fiesta Equestria the entire time. Wait, let me rephrase that. We were around each other the entire time at Fiesta Equestria. Yeah. And at one point, was it when we saw Friendship is the fighting game, Fighting is Magic?
Yeah, the Fighting is Magic at the. I'm looking at the camera. They had Fighting is Magic. Yeah, they had it at the vendor hall, and I kind of poked the idea of like, hey, what if Hazardous showed up and started doing cease and desist everywhere?
And then it turned into us driving to a Goodwill store and picking up a bunch of blazers and walking around doing what we did.
Still surprisingly expensive for a Goodwill.
Yeah, $15.
And you ruined them by jumping in the pool.
I had no idea that was going to be so bad.
And they get heavy in the water too. It's like, oh, those blazers get in the water. like 50 pounds in the water. Jeez.
So yeah, that was just one of those, literally an idea that just spawned at the time, and we said, hey, let's do it, and it happened or did it happen the day of? Or was it the following day? The next day. So yeah. Yeah, that was just us having fun doing what we do.
By the way, this is AC Ray's best good friend of ours.
No one cares. Unfortunately, I have another question for the cameraman.
Oh.
Which is,
it's AC Ray's best panel now.
This happens a lot.
Are you planning on doing a Brony's React to Equestria Girls? I don't know if that question's already been asked.
I kind of have an answer for that, which I've been kind of giving around, which I will get. Never! Well, first off, for anyone that doesn't know, we have a Brony's React panel Sunday at 10 a.m. Yeah! Now, cool. Now, that being said, it's going to be like a Q&A, a lot of questions being asked. So to vaguely answer your question, probably. But there'll be more details come Sunday. Yeah.
It's nothing about the documentary thing. I've been wanting to ask you this for a little while. From RaceBest's trip to EQLA, when you guys were both Disney and California Adventure, what was the scariest ride you were forced to go on?
Yeah, at least Baltimore doesn't have any roller coasters.
But they have drive-bys.
It just has
Yeah. But the California Screamer was terrifying. I love it. It's a good kind of scare.
Did you scream?
Oh yeah, I couldn't even scream. Like there was a time, we went on the loop, and I'm like, ah! And the air was pushed out of my chest. I'm like, oh!
He sounded like a demon. It turned into
like a whale or something. But no, it's always fun to go with a group of people and friends, so it's not scary. But that was definitely like I felt like I was a panic attack when we went on the top. Because I mean, roller coasters are perfect at building anticipation. You know, you're gonna die. But yeah, it was.
Just saying, thank you for all the work that you guys do. All of you guys are pretty cool. Question. What exactly drew you guys into the fandom in the first place? Do you all remember that?
Just
cute.
Yeah.
Cute.
Sorry, the inside joke. But for me, I just saw it on YouTube and just said, "What's this?" and took it from there. And the school project definitely kind of pushed it along in that direction of getting more involved and stuff.
Yeah, there was a bunch of different things for me. Mainly it was stuff I saw on YouTube because I saw some YouTube poops by Master of Zoroark, and I also saw a comic dub by General Ivan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I saw the One Friendship is Magic animation, the fan animation, the Bananas animation, that one. And then I was like, what is this about? So I went to go look at the episodes, and then I just went through the season 1 back in August of 2011. And then if they've seen the thing, if they've seen the documentary, they know how you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it. I was in Vietnam. I was on this hill. Charlie's everywhere. I mean, they were surrounding us, and we were just trying to defend this position so that, like HQ could send us reinforcements. So we're just, sitting up there, and Johnny, my good friend, and also, my
boyfriend.
Yeah, my boyfriend at the time. He, he takes out his iPhone. He goes, because Vietnam had iPhones. Future technology. You guys are just now getting it. Military technology, they had it. So he shows me his iPhone. He goes, look at this show. Look at the show. And he shows me from the future. He shows me MLP, and I'm just like, wow. And then, and then a mortar shell just comes out from the sky, blows up, and Johnny's face is gone, half of it gone, and he's like on the ground, and I'm just like, shh, it's getting good, it's getting good. Watch this. And I just watched the whole episode, and they took the hill anyway.
What episode was it?
It was Dragon Shy.
It's a good episode.
And that's how a question was made.
Yeah, and then I went through a couple of months of PSD and heroin addiction, and that's why I like ponies. So.
Classic.
Somehow you haven't aged.
Yes.
It's the heroin.
I have what is that, Andy Milonakis. I'm actually 50 years old. Yeah,
The bright colors of ponies must have been great on heroin.
I'll tell you what, Sonny.
How was that?
It's a boring story. It's just 4chan, code board.
Same.
Something
Honestly.
awful. I don't remember something awful. Yeah, 20 avatars. I just decided to check it out. Like, why is everyone doing this? Go on YouTube. Hey, every episode's online.
It was very innocent back then.
It
It was on Co. I mean, Co is a safe board. There are safe boards on 4chan. Everyone concerns it as, oh, it's B. There's always just bad things on there. There are safe boards you can go on where they ban people for posting lewd material. So on Comics and Cartoons, they had threads about My Little Pony, and it was a safe place for you to go and just see, oh, what's this show about? Here's a thing by Yardovich, or here's a thing by, and eventually I remember your stuff getting linked, and I was like, that's how I found out more or less who you were, and I don't know, stuff like that.
All right, we'll do one last question. We're gonna wrap this up.
You need to get lunch.
You haven't been asked you one yet. So go ahead.
I just have a more generic question about the entire fandom. I was wanting your opinions on it. I don't know if anyone asked it yet, but in particular with the pony fandom, why do you think it's become? Because there's so many other shows out there that are out there. They have their own conventions. They're more over-encompassing. Comic-Con's everything. There's anime ones and everything. Why do you guys think pony just exploded specifically around one show?
Behind it, the fact that it's My Little Pony and guys like it and older fans like it. I think that's because why. That and it didn't really fall into the what's that?
I said the online community. If it wasn't for that, I mean, sure you can like the shows when you want, but there's like no way you can avoid the fact that there's this huge community of making content all the time. Like I've never met someone going like, I've never seen a piece of fan-made work. I've only watched the show. Like they just avoided it all. Like there's everywhere. It's like it's gonna get you into it.
I'm still get surprised to this day when I do a Google search something completely unrelated to ponies, and I'll find something ponified in the search, like political science, and international law. Why is Pinkie Pie, in this result?
Pinkie Pie for president.
Was that?
Pinkie Pie for president.
Oh, yeah. Safe search on. But that you? No.
Question about why do you think MLP is one show?
Ponies, man.
Ponies,
Ponies, man.
Best answer. All right. I hope that helps. All right, guys. Thank you all for coming out. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we'll keep you all updated on part 2. It should be done here hopefully by September. We'll see what happens. Just sorry for the wait, and we'll try to have a good piece of documentary.
I loved your video.
Thank you. I'm really good.
My wife.